Hello and welcome to All For United with me, John Foster, MUFC. West Ham 1, Man United 1. This is a match reaction show. We've got a lot of things to talk about. We've had about 24 hours to kind of let things sink in a little bit, read a few things on Twitter, maybe not read a few things on Twitter, just a bit of everything really. And just introduce the guests first. Connor, how you doing, mate?
Not great. I think you just said we've had 24 hours to sink in. It's sunk in for me today. It's just a deflating mood at the moment, which is not ideal. But we got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it.
Anthony, obviously you was really passionate at the ground yesterday. What are your thoughts now? A few hours later.
You got to try and remain optimistic. It's just if they weren't cup finals before, they are now. It's that Chelsea one at the end. But how are you? How's chicken dinner?
Well, I do like eating my chicken dinner. However, that's not really been on my mind lately. Honestly, I haven't had a chance to think about it too much. I got back home at about 1:30 yesterday. Literally up for work at 7:30, in work at 9, finish at 6, and now it's 7 o'clock. So I haven't really had a chance to digest too much stuff. But listening to you guys throughout the day, it's been a bit tough. It's been a bit tough. Barry, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you very much. It's a bit like the rest. I'm not quite as downbeat. I don't know if that's just me or what, but it's not over yet. It's not over yet, and I guess I'm just one of those who won't give up until there is no chance. And you just don't know what's going to happen with Chelsea and with City and with all these other teams up there. I'm sure there was a wise man on Twitter. I'm sure there's plenty of twists and turns still to come. There you go. Exactly. See, so I'm sure there's going to be something. It can't just be a saunter in the park. So yeah, I'm just waiting to see. It's going to be Birmingham. Birmingham's going to beat Man City.
Right. Let's make it clear. We haven't given up. We haven't given up. We never give up.
Absolutely not.
We're still in it. We just like making it hard. We're Man United. We don't do things easy.
Yeah, and look, I went into that game thinking, okay, this is a good chance now to build a bit of momentum and really put the pressure on City, and kind of, you was a bit more wary. I wouldn't say negative or pessimistic. I think just wary of West Ham, and an away day, on a weekday evening, and you thought that this was a potential banana skin, and that's the way it proved to be. But I just thought we would have had too much for them on the night. And looking at some of the stats, I'll read some of the stats out. 9 goal attempts. Now, if you compare that to the previous game, we had 16 attempts, only 5 on target. It's just to me, just not enough there. We had a lot of possession. I think it was something like 63% possession, but we just didn't really tend to create too much. And on top of that, I have got a message going across the bottom regarding the midfield three. We didn't really speak about that too much, but with Katie Zellin playing a centre back, it gave the fans what they wanted to see all season. Barisa and Jackie on the pitch together with Tooney ahead of them. Did that work? We'll obviously talk a little bit about that. Get your comments in, and we'll talk about that. Russo, Thomas, Galton, all played okay, but just unfortunately, okay just wasn't enough. Connor, you put a tweet out yourself on the All For United account, and I think it's a real good question. So I guess we'll start off with that, and then we'll get into a bit more detail. But you kind of said, was it composure, leadership, concentration, fitness? Why did we suddenly not? Why can't we just hold on to the lead?
I don't know, and I think me and Anthony were talking about this backstage before. It's 11 points from in the league from in the last 10, 15 minutes of the game. I think it's a culmination of all of them. I don't think you can put it down to just one. I think there's a few things in there. I think maybe nerves are getting to them at this stage of the season. All the questions now around the Champions League, potentially. Maybe that's a part to play. There's obvious issues around our fitness. That was the main... walking away from the ground, I'm still deflated now. I think it's just the week as United fans. It's not been great, has it? But I think just walking out of the ground, I was very much like... One, I was thinking, what have I just watched? It's another time down to London, and it's another... We're coming away, with just a point late, very, very late on as well. But fitness is a massive concern for me. I can't believe that West Ham have played 2 games in a week well, 3 if you include that United one. That was the 3rd game in 7 days, and they were outrunning us. They were beating us to every single ball. That should not be happening on any level. Man United team should not be outworked. I think Charlie made the point on Monday's show that the only way they beat us is if they outwork us, because player for player, we're better than them. And yes, they didn't beat us, but it feels like that. And they did. They outworked us. We had a lot of the ball. I felt like Katie was that's probably the one positive. I thought Katie was very solid at centre half, just slotted in there. You probably wouldn't have thought that she was the first time maybe in that role. We kept the ball quite well. We had a few chances. I think we did. I think if you watch the game back, we had a few chances to kill it off, but nowhere near as much as the Reading game. I said I had us dropping points in this game. Everyone, it's the old gif, isn't it? You all laughed at me, I was the only one that got that scoreline right in the end. But I'd love to have been wrong. I don't know what it is. I think it's a combination of all of them. Fitness is definitely a main one, and the thing is, when you're physically fatigued, it's very easy to then get mentally bogged down as well, because your legs are telling you one thing, like, oh, you don't want to make that extra run. And then if it gets in your head as well, you'll start thinking, oh, well, I don't need to jump as high for this. I don't need to go in as hard on that. And you start becoming second best to everything. And that's what happened. And we let the game drift. I think it might have been Anthony or yourself, John. One of you said to me in the ground that, I think because I said it feels like Arsenal and the Conte, but the difference with that, we were only hanging on for 10 minutes. We hung on we were nearly 35 minutes. It's too long. You can't hang on for that long. Not against not in the WSL nowadays. Teams aren't just going to roll over and let you have 3 points. So, tough one.
Yeah. It was tough, and you mentioned the word mentality there as well. That could be it. I was looking at the clock with about 30 minutes to go, thinking, come on, ref, start blowing up. Just because, and we should have been in that position. That is the difference between, the Arsenal's, Chelsea's, and potentially City if they go on their one now, compared to us just missing out. I think if Anthony, you mentioned it, or it might have been John Commode, I can't remember now. But they were saying that we shouldn't just be hanging on. We should be putting these clubs, these teams, to bed, and that has been the difference in some cases. Not all cases, but unfortunately, if you're looking at the 2 points dropped side of the coin, then unfortunately that's where we went wrong, isn't it? Anthony, obviously we are disappointed because we have high standards. We want to get that top 3 spot. What are your thoughts on that now? Because I know that you want to remain positive, but it's very hard now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I agree with Connor on what he said. A lot of it. Agree. It's a thing of 3 things, but mainly the fitness and psychological. I was saying to Connor before we came on live and before you two arrived, United have won one game 1-0, and that was in the Conti Cup against Arsenal. If we don't score more than 1 goal, we either draw or lose. And that's fact this season. Fact. I looked it up just before we came on just to see, because I couldn't remember. Now, it's disappointing. Like I said, there is 5 cup games now, like I said in the intro. We just got to go one at a time, pick up the points, make sure City don't catch us up with the goal difference going into the last game of the season, because if they've got better goal difference than us and we're needing to beat Chelsea, then it's like a miracle we're going to need, isn't it? But I don't get the fitness levels, and I saw people on Twitter. I looked on Twitter and people were like, "Why did he take Russo off?" I'm going to stick up for Mark here. I agree. I think we were at the ground, and I think some of these people just they see it on the TV, and it's very different watching it on TV to in the ground. On the TV, you only see certain bits of them, whereas we were there, you could tell she was knackered. I personally think we should have taken Leah off on about 70th minute and put Hansen on. Hansen didn't come on until they scored. Too late by them. We should have been, especially towards the end of the game, we should have been so much fitter than them. We should have been winning everything first time. Like we've mentioned it, that was their third game in 6 days. And we played Saturday at lunchtime, so we even had an extra day to recover. But I just don't know. I was trying to be positive, but I was talking to you too, and I was like, "Oh, I've got a bad feeling." And it does get in your head, doesn't it? You think, "Oh, we've been here against Everton, we've been here against Tottenham," and it was deja vu. Like Connor said, yeah, we've dropped 11 points from winning positions or even in drawing. We dropped 2 points against City at home when they had their injury crisis. We're sort of going through our injury crisis now, but this is where they all need to stand up and be counted. I don't know what they do, what they think with the subs and that. They get paid to do that. I personally think he shouldn't have taken Vilda off. I think she's not played much recently compared to Jackie. I would have kept Vilda on the pitch personally. But he has his reasons what subs he makes, why he leaves them so late sometimes. But unfortunately, quite a lot of the time he shoots himself in the foot because we just do something, and by the time we do, it's too late. Like Hansen, how's she going to change the game with 2 minutes to go? Well, unfortunately, we haven't got an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the team.
Oh yeah, Dave, we had 3 quarters at the end, and something could have potentially happened there.
Yeah, exactly. But unfortunately, we still, for some reason, we haven't been able to have one of them delirious limbs everywhere moments. Unfortunately,
yeah, absolutely. I get what you're saying, and Barry, I'll bring you in shortly. But just on them substitutions, on paper, I can kind of see why you would bring Jane Moore on, just to kind of like.
I agree with that.
You 1-0 up. You want to try and hold it out now. You bring some steel in the middle, in the middle of the park that potentially you didn't have at the start of the game. We're more crying out for Fuzal to get on the pitch. Winning or losing. So Fuzal's the next one to come on with plenty of time. But for me, I think the players just, I don't know if it's a mental thing or what, and I don't think we'll ever know. But to me, it's just we just didn't look like we had the nerve, I guess, or the composure. Barry, you referenced my tweet a little bit earlier. Are you looking at the glass kind of like half full in the sense of, well, we've still got a lot of games to play. City probably, we say probably will drop points. It's going to be very hard for them to win every game. If they take every game as it comes, then yeah, I get it. They are going to be favourites, but we was favourites just. Arsenal was favourites against Birmingham, and they end up losing. Are you basically saying that City is going to drop points, do you think, Barry?
I think it's got to. There is going to be twists and turns. I mean, they could go and win every game. Of course they could. This is the joy of football. Nobody ever really knows except Connor, who's clearly some sort of guru and can predict these things in advance. I don't know why I didn't put 50 quid on it. It'd be rich. But, listen, I was interested to listen to what Anthony was just saying there, because I've just run through those games where we did lose it. And actually, I think sometimes you've got to think about the circumstances as well. And so you look at the City game that we had, first of all, we were 2-1 up. We were only 4 minutes in the lead before they got the second goal. And I think that was Ellen White. And that was the one, I think, that hit the bar. And then she just had to bundle it over Earps made a cracking save, bar, Ellen White, because that's what she does, bosh, over the line. So that one, you could probably say unlucky. Spurs, 95th minute, free kick, straight in at the far post. We were leading there for 45 minutes. The Everton game, we were winning for 66 minutes. And then there was just that little bit of confusion between Earps and I forget who the defender was at that time, and straight through the legs, that was game over there. The Arsenal one, 69 minutes until we get a defence splitting pass where we've done everything perfect for the entire game, except for that one. And then the last one, of course, West Ham, and that came from a corner. And let's not forget that was in the 93rd minute after Mary Earps had been on the floor for what felt like most of the half, actually, because she was down for so long, and she can't have been well. But that time that was added on at the end is mostly down to Mary being on the floor. So the irony of the situation is that actually, had she been able to get up, if we'd have brought Bagley on, who knows whether we'd have had that corner. Everything changes in that respect. And I think when you then start looking at people like City and Arsenal and Chelsea and all these other teams, Spurs as well, they're going to have moments like that. It only takes a Stanway to get sent off. She's shown that she's able to do that. It's a possibility. You know, it's not a case of just trying to keep myself, you know, positive. It's just, it's facts. This is what happens in football. It doesn't take much. I mean, nobody ever thought that we were coming back against Paris Saint-Germain when Solskjaer took over. And there we were. I was running laps of the house. I was going crazy when Rashford banged that penalty in. So maybe that's our moment. Maybe our delirium moment is going to come against Chelsea when we nick that goal, prove that we've got what it takes. Martin Ho, oh yes, brilliant. Have you heard of us? Barmy Army, wallop. Thank you very much. Champions League. Who knows? Maybe. Or maybe we'll all just have to go to the bar and, you know, drown our sorrows. That's football.
There's a reason why we get Barry on the show, everyone. It's great positivity. It really is. Because that could happen. You know, I think it's because we've come from winning positions. We've been, you know, one of the favourites for top three of the whole season, since we got in there at least. And, you know, we've gone 1-0 up at times and then conceded at the end. You know, Tottenham was a killer before Christmas. And, you know, but so we automatically think the worst. Maybe that is the case now. You know, I understand, Barry, yeah. Kind of just finishing off for yourself on this subject before we move on to the actual game itself. Chelsea won 3-0 against Everton, City 2-0 against Reading. It took City a while to get going, you know. They built our hopes up a little bit in the stadium. 6 goal average plus for us. So, you know,
they're second half FC City. You know this by now.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Connor, what are your thoughts? Can you see City dropping? Do you think it's in their hands now, or
you should have done this in reverse order? You should have gone to Barry after me because I'm really going to bring the mood back down again. I'm sorry, but
sure, I'm here to bring it back up at the end. It's not a drama. Keep going.
I'll play devil's advocate slightly. City have only lost 1 game since we beat them in the Conti back in November, and that was to Chelsea away. So that's, you know, we're hoping on a miracle really. City losing the game, they might draw. You know, Reading on the last day could be difficult. West Ham away, they've still got that, could be difficult. But the real, if we didn't, and this everyone knows this, if we didn't have Chelsea on the last day, we'd all be sat here super positive, going, yeah, it's still massively in our hands. You know, we've got a good run at Chelsea on the last game. If they don't get a points deduction, which I don't think they will now, if they don't get that, they're going to be fighting for the title potentially on that last game. So they're going to need the points as well as us. I don't think we could beat them on our day, but do we trust ourselves enough? And again, it goes back to what we were saying earlier, the mentality in the squad. Do we have the mentality in the squad to go to Chelsea on the last game with the pressure on, knowing they need the points as well and go and beat them? Because I don't know. We have evidence would say that we don't at the moment. However, I do agree with what Barry was saying, that there will be another slip. I predicted us to draw this game, and in my predictor I've got us finishing a point ahead of City, so it can happen. But I also thought Spurs would beat City and do us a favour, and they didn't. But we'll glance over that. It can happen. Like I said, City have still got to go to West Ham. They've still got to go to Reading. You know, the one difference is they're getting over the line. They're holding on 1-0 against Spurs, leaving it late against Reading. But the difference is they're getting over the line. It doesn't matter how. I said on the show on Monday, I don't care how. If we win every game 1-0, I don't really care. But we're not getting over the line. And until we get over that mental barrier, I know we did it in the Conti against Arsenal. Until we do that in the league and get over the line, I think I said to you, John, or it might be to Charlie, or I said to somebody in the ground, the mental kind of relief that would give us as a squad if we'd held on for those couple of minutes at the end of the game, how massive that would have been. And now, you know, the players have gone on, and you could see it. I think I said to somebody as well. You could see when the players are coming over. That's the most deflated I think I've ever seen them. You could see in their faces how much that's taken it out. So I'm glad that we don't have a game at the weekend because, week and a half off rest up and recover and forget about this, because as fans, we're going to be deflated for a couple of days because we can't rectify it right now. The players can't go out and play again. But yeah, it's a good occasion, obviously, the next game with it being at Old Trafford as well. And that's probably the spark we need to go again, because I think we all thought, well, bar me, because I predicted a draw, but I think everyone thought that we'd go on a winning run now. And 2 games into this run, we've dropped points already. So, as Anthony said, actually, if it wasn't a cup final every game, it definitely is now. And there can't be any more drop points now.
United, if I had an accumulator for this round of fixtures from the weekend and Wednesday, United would have let me down. I predicted, didn't get any correct score lines. Oh, no, tell a lie. Chelsea winning 3-0 gave me a correct score line. But every other game that was played on the weekend and last night, I predicted correctly, other than United. So,
yeah. Tries in the comments, Zellum did phenomenally last night. I agree. We'll talk about that right now. Barry, just come to you on this one then. So when the lineup first came out, I just presumed it was going to be Galton a fullback. But I think what this did is it forced us not to change too much. Zellum's quite, plays a lot of CDM or one of 2/8, however you want to call it. So she just dropped back in position by 1, which allowed Balvista and Jackie to both be on the pitch at the same time with 2 in the ahead. So, in some people's eyes, that midfield 3 is what people want to see week in, week out. And we can talk about that towards the end of the show. But let's just talk about the captain. Had some great games recently, getting on the score sheet, getting assists. She played pretty much every minute of that 7-game run that we went on, where we won 7 and conceded 0. And then she slotted in a centre-back, really, really composed, in my opinion. She was picking off passes, playing balls where you think, oh, that was a bit dodgy, but you could tell how she had so much confidence in her passing ability that she knew she was going to make those passes, trying to pass and move with the fullbacks, bringing the attackers towards as well to try and create space behind. I just thought she's done a very great job, and I'll give Shane a call out as well from the Man United Women's Supporters Club. He was standing behind us, and I think he was cheering for Katie more than any of us. He could really see, the ability that she had. You got to shout out the captain there for doing such a good job as centre back.
100%. I think Katie she comes in for a lot of flack, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if this is just something that's crept into Manchester United as a whole, but we seem to need to have someone who we blame. And I think for some reason she seems to get it. And I don't know that I understand that. But I do have to admit that I haven't been as close to it as others. So, there may be genuine reasons why people are upset during matches. But I think that the way she plays, she's obviously got, you're going to play with confidence when you've got the trust of the manager. And it is absolutely crystal clear that she has got the trust of that man. So Mark Skinner clearly rates Katie Zellum, I would say, probably above any other midfielder he's got, because she's always there without fail. Possibly Tooney might be the other one who's on that list. But I think for him, they're his main 2. He's not going to get rid of those. So you're going to be confident when you do that. I also think fair play to her, because it's not easy to step up and play what is a very different role. You could argue, though, that maybe if we'd had the normal sort of defence that we would have, that they would have perhaps dealt with the corner better. I don't know whether something like that would have mattered. I couldn't really see enough from where we were. I was too busy crying at the time. I couldn't see through the tears as to quite what had happened there. But I think our problem is we need to be settled. You need a settled side. I think you want that spine for a start, and that spine has been shattered in so many different occasions. We would have had Millie Turner. She's not about, and we've spoken at length about defence and not having the players that we'd like to have in. The fact that we keep changing the midfield maybe to accommodate one or the other, and it just doesn't feel settled. And if you're not settled, you're not going to feel as confident. So I think it's important that we get that, and we haven't had it. But you can't argue with what Katie Zellum did on that pitch last night. I think there was one moment early on where the ball came into the area and she just didn't. Everyone's like, clear the ball, and she's like, no, I'm quite happy with it, and she's wandering around with it, and then away with it. And like you say, it's that level of confidence. Oh, to have that level of confidence in our place of work that you just wander around going, it's fine, don't worry. You know, she's fabulous. You know, I've got nothing but good things to say about Katie Zellum, and you know, I think we're very lucky as a football team to have her, to be honest.
Just before I bring Connor or Anthony in, just Barry, what last one on this one then? Would you keep her a centre back then for the time being until maybe Mannions fully fit?
No, I'm with Nat. I think we need to give one of the devs a chance, maybe. You know, if we've got ones that we know that can do it, why not? You know, if you're in this sort of situation, it's tough because I know why he's doing it. He's doing it because she is more experienced. We spent that time talking about it, but actually, why not? You know, what an absolute, we talk about confidence, what a confidence booster that is to turn around to one of your devs and go, look, you did so well in that match. I trust you. Come here, show us what you can do. And they're going to play with confidence, and they've got experienced people there that can help them. I mean, Diane she's not exactly, you know, born yesterday and only just out the training ground. She's got experience too. She knows what she's doing. 100%. Why not? Give it a go. What's the worst that can happen? We finish fourth again. We've done that. Been there. Got to be brave. Take a risk. Why not?
Connor, I can see you was dying to come in there, but just before you answer that one or bring in that comment, we've got Paul in the comments. Do you think weather was a factor? Do you want to answer that one first and then come into the Katie Zellum?
No. I mean, yeah, it would have played a factor, but it doesn't make a difference because there's two teams playing on the same pitch. So, yes, it would have had a factor, but it doesn't make a difference in terms of, you know, our way of playing or whatever, because there's two teams. And ultimately, I don't think we played that much different to how we have done the last few weeks. We just didn't convert chances. And it's funny we say that because we said that on Monday's show, didn't we, about not converting chances. So, what was the question? Zellum, wasn't it? In answer to your question, no, I wouldn't be keeping Zellum at centre back. She did well. But West Ham didn't pose too much of a threat. So, you know, she was very composed on the ball. She does what she does. People don't see it. And it was probably more evident at centre-back than when she's in midfield. She's very good on the ball, very calm on the ball. So, yeah, I wouldn't be keeping it there. She did a good job there. And fair play to her for, none of us know what the conversations would have been. But, you know, if you say you get asked, you know, if you're Skinner going in, oh, God, Maria's out, we're speculating, obviously, to the reasons why. He's obviously then gone to the squad going, right, what can I do here? Do I shift Hannah across to centre-back? Do I put Leah there? And I don't know whether Katie's put her hand up and gone, I'll slot back, or whether he's asked her. Or either way, she's accepted that and has moved back into a position that she's probably not comfortable in playing. Yeah, I thought she was excellent there. And, I'm with every word that Barry said. She gets massively overcriticised. And it's not just a United thing. I think it's creeped into football where people like to look at football very simply and just blame somebody. Just blame one person, and that's, I don't know, maybe we're just slightly different in the way that we look at football, but people just like to blame one person for everything. There's 11 players on a pitch. You don't lose a game because of one player. You don't win a game because of one player. There's 10 other players around that person. So, yeah, I thought she did really well yesterday, considering she slotted in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Anthony, pretty much everyone in the comments is agreeing with us. You know, everyone's saying how well Katie's done, and are you one of those people as well, Anthony?
Yeah, we mentioned it on my prediction show, didn't we, last week about, and it was one of the questions I gave to you, wasn't it, about why do you think Zellum's the scapegoat for some reason? Because we discussed 6 goals, 6 assists, it was. I think that might be 7 now, if Tooney's goal counts as her assist, but and we discussed, isn't it, where she is willing to take a risk with her passing, and sometimes it doesn't pay off, and they do score from it, but she's not. I think some people moan about the passion as well. They want to see more passion from her, like leadership, but you can't. Zellum's been brilliant. There's other people that have made mistakes. Maria's made a couple. I don't think it's as bad anymore. I think people are starting to realise that what she does bring to the team. But no, full credit to her. I thought she had a great game at centre back. Yeah, maybe she didn't get challenged as much as she would have done against other teams, but you can only do what's in front of you. So I had no complaints. She thought she had a great game. And just what you want from your captain, playing wherever for the cause of the team.
Yeah, definitely. Ellie in the comments say we need Mannion back. She's boss in the defensive bit. Yeah, she absolutely is. We need Mannion back, and probably will be for Old Trafford. Fingers crossed. Has
he said anything?
Because
last we heard, she had swelling on the knee. Thought, oh well, she'll be back this game, and then we haven't heard anything since.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Actually, yeah, we've got another week and a half to go. I think they're, like I said, they're on the pitch, aren't they? Just doing the training. Hopefully, you'd like to think, in 9-10 days' time, they'll be okay. You did mention they got COVID, so we presume, I don't know if that's been officially announced, but we presume that was obviously Maria as well. So will she actually be fit enough to start at Old Trafford? Not too sure. So if Mannion's not fit, then it might have to be either a Dev or Katie. But I can't see a Dev coming in. Maybe it would be a good story if a Dev came in at Old Trafford, but surely you've got to go with an experienced team there. But maybe I'm in the minority. I can't imagine, because if Katie doesn't start at centre back, she'll start in the centre of midfield, and then in other words, you drop in Jackie or Balvista for a Dev, and I can't see that happening. So I can see maybe Katie starting at centre back again if someone's not fully fit. Landel's got a comment on here about the gaffer, saying, is it proactive or reactive? I think it's a bit of both. I think obviously he'll have his own plan at the start of the game, but then if he can see things going a certain way, he's got to react to that, hasn't he? Barry, I just saw you kind of nodding your head there. Do you want to have your little say on that one before we move on?
Well, 100%. I think you've got to be both. I think that's exactly how life works. You start a game with your plan and you know what it is you want to do. How often do we as fans go, I think I've seen it already, there's no plan B. But that's the whole point. You need to be reactive, and you react to what's in front of you. And sometimes we agree with it, sometimes we don't. I felt, for example, like Mourinho was too reactive. We have to score a goal, brilliant. Let's defend. That's excellent. That's all we need. And it was the reaction that was too soon. I think you could perhaps question the timing of when he chooses to be proactive or reactive. Like you said, the point of bringing Hansel on for 2 minutes. I know that you can almost hear the commentator and they're going for the last throw of the dice. Like, no, we're not really. We've given up and we're just going to throw somebody else on in the hope that something miraculous will happen. But it's not for 2 minutes. You need to give them a little bit longer. So, yeah, I don't fully think you can be a decent manager without being both. But I think the timing is what matters with when you choose to be reactive. And I know what you're saying about bringing Moore on a bit earlier. I don't know if that was the right time. Maybe we sat back too quick. Perhaps we should have gone, we should learn. It's bitten us in the backside enough times. Go and get that second goal, then sit back. And that would have been the time to defend it. I think trying to defend these 1-goal leads, we're just not quite there yet. And it's not good for my heart.
You bring subs on with 2 minutes to go if you're trying to hold on to a lead. Wasting time. As soon as they scored, he brought her on. There's no point, was there? Might as well just said, sorry, you're not getting on today.
It's as if Charlie's got my little list in front of her, because she kind of leads us into the next topic with every comment that she's putting on. Talk a little bit about the midfield. I felt like we missed her. Yes, I agree. Zelen Balvisa in that centre midfield. Connor, I'll bring it to you. Zelen's pretty much played at every minute of almost every game this season. Did we kind of miss having her in the centre of midfield? Or would you kind of like to see Jackie and Balvisa play more often together? I know a lot of fans on social media would like to see that happen, but we saw it yesterday, and I don't think it was any better than any other game. In some aspects, slightly worse. Is it that simple?
No, and I've obviously defended Katie more than any. And I had somebody tweet me a few weeks ago, I think it was, and I had to translate what the word meant because I think they said I was talking hodgepodge or something like that, and I had to translate what it meant. So I went and found that out. But I worked it out, and yeah, anyway. But so I've defended her in that midfield, and I think, was it any better? It was a good midfield, but I don't know. The thing is, I don't think our issues were necessarily in midfield. I don't think we had the energy and the runners around for the midfield to do much. I felt quite sorry for Bo Risa and for Jackie because they didn't have runners in around her to make the passes that they're capable of. Jackie, I actually thought was excellent in there. I think she probably on for player of the match if with Zellum closely behind or ahead, whichever way. She broke up the play quite well, but I don't know. I think we are seeing the importance of her. I'm glad other people are starting to see what she brings now, particularly in midfield. But I think you could have stuck anyone in that midfield. There wasn't the runners. We had chances, particularly in the first half. The runners were a little bit there, but in the second half, I think the only criticism I maybe would have, and this isn't just the two midfielders, by the way, this is probably of the whole team, but it kind of centres around midfield, is when West Ham are dominating. I'm a massive advocate of this, and people get sick of me saying it in stadiums, I'm sure they are. But when your backs are against the wall, you need to keep the ball away from the opposition for a few minutes. Take the sting completely out of the game. That midfield, we couldn't keep the ball long enough to take the ball away from them. So every time we get the ball, we long ball it, and that we're defending again. Whereas if that midfield and the defence, or the wingers dropping into midfield, whatever it was, if we could have just kept the ball for 2-3 minutes for straight West Ham, get them to give away a foul, something like that, it would have took the sting out of the game, and who knows what the outcome would have been. But no, I thought that midfield did pretty well, considering the second half we were limited to very, very little.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's go in time on that one. Anthony, it's not very often you say Jackie Bo Risa and Tooney together. What were your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it worked, I thought. I do agree. I think Zellum just gives that extra bit of security. She plays them sort of risky passes, whereas there was a bit less of that. I feel. I do think Zellum will slot back in straight to midfield, but it'd be good to see it again. I think they can. Maybe the weather, it wasn't really a factor other than maybe the surface of the pass. The ball seemed to be quite slow, whereas we normally like to zip it quite quickly. So that might have been the only factor with passing and that. But I can't really say they did anything wrong, really. Yeah, we could have created a bit more, especially second half, but I don't know what more they could have done really well, other than maybe being a bit better with the ball at times. We just need to get clever with defending leads, like as well. But there was nothing they did wrong. On another day, we could have went in at half-time 2-0 up, got the third goal, and we wouldn't be here discussing about dropping 2 points. But these things happen, don't it? Sometimes everything goes your way, other times it doesn't. It's like when we played Reading, yeah, Una's scored. Now 9 times out of 10 you'd be slating, you'd be going, for God's sake, blah blah blah. But it was the fact that Russo then got the shot and scored, so we didn't really. So will we see it again? I don't think we will. If our team's fully back, I think. Like, I can't remember if it was Connor or Barry, but he's got his like favourites that starting, and it will be. I think it's Zellum, Jackie, and Tooney. I think unfortunately, Vilda seems to be the one to come off the bench, unfortunately, and that's through no fault of her own. But we'll see. Hopefully, we'll have a few players back by the Old Trafford game. But then you never know, do you? You can think we have a few people back, and then you think, oh, well, why is Jackie not in the lineup? Because or the bench, because they don't tell us anything, do they? It's like, so you said Maria had COVID, did you?
Well, I don't know for definite. I don't know if you've seen anything different today on
No,
Twitter.
because I think I said to you, John, didn't it? I'd assume it's that because Skinner mentioned COVID in his post-match interview, like not about Maria, but he said we've got players with COVID in the squad, and Maria, as all of a sudden, was not in the matchday squad we all expect. So I just assume. I'm not saying that that's fact, but
Okay,
I assume because he mentioned it, then maybe it is that.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Maybe that was that. Yeah, I missed that a bit, but but yeah, it did work, but it's one of them things, isn't it? It worked to an extent.
I'd like to hear Barry's thoughts on this as well. I know obviously you're a big fan of all the players. Would you like to see that those three playing together again? I don't know how that would fit Katie anywhere, but like this is what a lot of fans have been crying out for most of the season. You know, Tuli's had a fantastic season and a big fan favourite. We know Jackie had a fantastic season last season, so coming into this season, you know, she was on form. And then obviously we signed Balvisa, but we haven't really seen all three of them play together very much. Would you like to see a bit more of that?
Well, I mean, we've spoken about this before in other shows with Connor, but there's so many midfielders to try and fit into one midfield that there's just so many different permutations and so many different things you could have. Absolutely, I'd like to see the three of them playing again. You know, I'm a massive fan of Ella Toon. You know, if you're allowed to say such things, she's one of my favourite players. I like everything that she does. You know, I like everything she stands for, and I love the fact that, you know, she's a local girl who's playing for the team that she loves. So, you know, I love seeing her do that. And Jackie and Vilda, I think, have been two really good additions to the team. I think the problem that you have is, like you say, what do you do with them? Do you then drop Katie entirely? That's then a bit harsh because, as we say, Katie's, you know, in good form at the moment and doing well. So you then maybe argue, do you put them in sort of like a diamond shape and then do you only have three at the back or just two up front? And see, this is the problem that Skinner's got. He's got to sit there and try and think about how you put all of these bits of the puzzle together. And I don't think there is a player we can look at on that pitch who we can really, truly slate in terms of effort and just work rate and trying. That's what they are trying to do. You know, I think Honor's been amazing. We don't want her to go anywhere. We're not going to get rid of Mary Earps because she's been absolutely fabulous. Diane stepped up and done, you know, exceptionally well considering she's new to the club, and you know that pressure of playing for a club that you love and enjoy being part of. You know, you've got the joys of Blundell, who has maybe had a few moments lately in the last couple of games. We have to be honest there. It's almost like her confidence has dropped a little bit, and would like to think that that's going to, you know, come back again, and it should be all right. But generally, she's been a rock at the back so far this season. You know, Millie Turner, as we've mentioned, and Mannion, who's been absolutely superb. So all of these players, when you look at them, they've really worked hard. Martha Thomas has played herself into that starting lineup. She has been absolutely unbelievable. And it's noticed by the way the fans sing. You know, I sometimes judge how long the songs go on for. And when we're doing a bit of the Martha Thomas, you get the rhythms going. People want to do it for a while because we're matching the energy that she's bringing to the game. She's unbelievable. Martha Thomas. And you've got to, because it's what she brings. Martha Thomas, you've got to.
I didn't think we'd be doing
the
Thomas song here.
Russo's been amazing. Galton, she's started scoring a few. So all of these players, you know, you can argue till the cows come home whether we're top three material and whether or not we've got the ability to break into that. But this is a foundation that we can build a successful team upon without any shadow of a doubt. And we're nearly there. And we just have to keep remembering that. Although it feels like, you know, the end of the world because we haven't managed to defeat West Ham. And it's only hurting because we know how close we are. and we just want to see it happen. It's like anything. You want that to happen, and you want it to happen now. You don't want it to happen next year because it's here now and it's possible and it's available. And that's the only reason. That's why it hurts so much. But as I said, it's not over yet. It's not over yet. We've just got to trust these girls in the same way that Skinner does. And yeah, I think that is the key thing. I think you can pick any one of our players and put them in there, and you wouldn't have to worry too much about the effort and the skill and all of that sort of stuff. It's just whether they gel together. And last night they did, but the weather, everything around, something just wasn't quite right last night. And maybe it was that last minute change. Maybe COVID came in and, a few people are a bit unsure of what they had to do, perhaps, They haven't trained for it, perhaps. If Maria's had to drop out immediately, Katie's now got to drop back. It's a whole new set of instructions. It could be anything. Maybe I'm just being too kind. Maybe they just need to pull their finger out and score a goal. It could be one of the two. But frankly, I've got a lot of time for anyone who goes into that team, to be honest, because they're all good enough.
Yeah. Shout out to Vilda. Keep the passion up.
He's got a great comment on screen that I agree with. I think some fans might not agree with that last little bit. He was basically saying that the difference is still pretty clear between us and the top three. I'm guessing you including City on that one. But we have seen the difference injuries have made to City this year. So maybe we're being too hard on ourselves. I agree. I think sometimes, we've got into a position where we thoroughly believe that we should be in Champions League this season. And I've said it, throughout the whole season. A lot of fans didn't think at the start of the season that we would get top three, and we put ourselves in a position where we do now believe that we can make top three. It's only literally been like the last week or so, or even just yesterday, where maybe we're thinking, okay, we're now underdogs for this top three. But we can't forget the fact that we've worked so hard so far this season, and that we're there on merit. Anthony, what's your thoughts on that one? Are we being too hard on ourselves? Are we top three, or should we just be happy with fourth? Or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, when you look at it, the injuries City did have early in the season, yeah, you could think we are potentially being a bit hard on ourselves. It's been a bit of swings and roundabouts, and City have had their injuries. United, unfortunately, are getting a few at the wrong time. It's how you deal with it. When it does come, though, you just have to find a way to win. City did lose a few, other than the Tottenham game at their ground. They should have won it. They created plenty of chances that first half, and for whatever reason, they just didn't go in for them that day. So even though City did have all them injuries, there were still games they lost that they could have quite easily won. So yeah, we possibly are being. I think if you have City fully fit and United fully fit and Chelsea and Arsenal fully fit for the whole season, I agree with Ian. We slightly maybe are a little bit below them in a little sense, but then in another sense, we've shown we can beat City even when City are at full strength. We've now shown we can beat Arsenal, and Arsenal, they weren't really under strength. They had a couple of injuries. Chelsea seemed to be the Achilles heels. Yeah, we've had 1 point against them, and that was the first game of the season, which probably helped. But it's changing, isn't it, the WSL? It's getting more competitive. It's a bit like the Championship. Like, I'm on about the men's Championship. I looked at it the other day, and I didn't realise that there was teams like Luton Town, who I thought I associate them with the bottom. They're battling for playoff position. So I think with Sky and that coming in and the money coming in and the FA Cup money going, I just think it's you're going to have more money to invest in the team, and it's going to make things a lot more tighter. 15 years ago, I didn't really know much about women's football, but it was obvious you had Arsenal, but then you had all these teams like Doncaster Bells. They were a big team back then, and then it's weird. Like, you had teams like Lincoln. If you weren't into women's football like me until a few years ago, you would have never known that. You'd have been like, Lincoln. Like, I've looked back at the FA Cup and you see some of the teams and you think, blimey. But no, I can see possibly being a little bit harsh, but then you just got to. It's one of those, isn't it? There's so many if and buts in a season for everyone. So I'm in the middle with it. Potentially yes, potentially not. But we're seeing City back to full fitness now with a lot of their players, and it is clear. Whereas now we're getting important injuries, so then we're seeing where we're struggling. So it's a bit of both, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I'm not too sure because I don't like comparing injury lists, but I think you'd probably say City's was worse at their peak. We've only had one game where we've had to have a makeshift centre-back. Other than that, we've had Maria and Diane, who are both experienced centre-halves. So we've still had our number one keeper in goal. We've still had our first-choice full-backs. We've still had our first-choice midfield. Pretty much our starting, forward line. So we've not Yes, we've been hampered with a few injuries, but bar lads, Mannion and Millie, obviously our two first-choice centre-backs. Brun obviously is out at the moment. She, is new into the squad, hasn't hit the ground running just yet, but she hasn't had too many opportunities yet. Jade Moore, was she ever going to come straight into starting 11? Stanley, is she a starter? We're not. Whereas I think when you look at City's injuries at the start of the season, I think they lost both of their keepers, didn't they? And they were playing third or fourth choice keeper. They were playing Jill Scott centre half, for quite a few games as well. It wasn't just a one-off. So I don't know. I think yes, we're maybe being a little bit overcritical because it was a makeshift team yesterday, but it was one game. We've been having this issue all season. Even when we had a full strength team at the start of the season, we were having these problems. So I don't think we're being too overcritical. It goes back to what I said at the start of the show. Fitness is just a huge problem, and from what I hear, this isn't just this season. It's been an issue for previous seasons as well. So that's something that we're going to have to address in terms of being. In terms of the closeness to those teams, I agree with what Barry was saying, and John, obviously, we speak a lot about it. That did we expect top three this season? No, probably not. But when you get granted that opportunity, you've got to take it. Now, we might still do it. We might go on a win and run now to the end of the season, and that's going to be great. So I'm not going to say anything too much more on it now. But when we look at how close we are, it's really hard to judge on this season alone because of the injuries that Man City have had. Yes, we can prove that we can beat them on a one-off game. Same with Arsenal. Chelsea, obviously, we get to see that. It's one of those. I think we're closer than we think. I think I'm pretty sure the quote is, I think Gary Neville said, it's never, and Skinner says this a lot, that it's never as good as you think and it's never as bad as you think. It's always somewhere in the middle. And Skinner says that a lot about don't getting too high when you win and don't get too low when you don't win. So I think it sits somewhere in the middle. I agree with what Anthony was saying. I don't think it's as bad as maybe we've made out, or maybe I'm making out at the minute. But I also don't think some of our highs, we were looking to the league title a few months ago. At the back end of Jan, we were looking at, oh, God, we're only 2 points off the top here. If we'd have gone to the Academy Grant to City and gone to win, if we'd have beat City away, we were looking at the title. And obviously we lost that game. And, since then it's kind of been a bit hit and miss. So, it's a tough one to gauge this season.
A lot of the goals we concede are from our own doing.
Yeah.
That's the concentration that you're on about, weren't you?
And that's we was on our best run of the season where we didn't make any mistakes, so we kept them clean sheets because we didn't do anything silly and a genuine just mistake, a blooper, But sorry, Barry, I know you wanted to come in there.
It's just in amongst all the gags and the positivity and all that sort of stuff, I fully agree with what Connor and Anthony have just said. which is that it is a lot of our own doing. As I said before, with the way those goals have come in for the equalisers, it's but that's the whole point. Is it's our doing. It's not that we're getting absolutely larruped by these teams. It's not that we're not in a situation where we're not able to do it. It's us, and if we can fix things that we do, if we were constantly having to defend against teams we weren't doing that well enough, and it wasn't us, and we were just being outclassed, then I can understand it. And I think, just going back to what was being said there about the injuries, we are in a situation where we're having that now. We're having the not quite as bad as Connor said, but we're definitely having our moment of injuries now, and it's almost like it's just been opposite ends. And I think the problem is that City are so experienced and so good at it that they're going to take advantage of any lapses of concentration, any issues that we have, which is why we can't afford to drop any more points, really. If this had been the other way around, if we'd have taken the advantage of those things, this wouldn't even be a conversation. Because, that's 8 points there. City would be sitting there now crying into their beer. Sorry, moustaches. They'd have all of these sorts of issues going on. They wouldn't be sitting here concentrating on us as a football club and thinking they could catch us out again. So there's that. It will cost us. But I just wanted to point out to what somebody's put on here about how many players do we need. It's the one you put up there. Brilliant. Nicky, you're so good at this. That they need in the summer to compete. None, really. We're doing it now. It's happening. We got to stop pretending that we're not. We are. We're competing now. We might not be right up there at the top competing for the title, but before that dodgy February, that's exactly what we were doing. We were in with a shout. We had that possibility. We were within a decent point for stretch of us being able to do that. So I don't think we need to sit here and say how many players do we need. We've got them. What we need to do is to iron out the mistakes and pull ourselves together in that respect. And if we do that, we can compete. So I don't think it's a case of needing more. I think it's just a case of we just need to do a little bit better than we are currently. And Ian, I quite like this Ian chat, bringing up things that I've said before, but it does worry me that people are remembering what I'm saying.
You make some good points, Barry, and you missed an opportunity though there. Instead of saying crying into their moustaches, you should have said crying into their drum.
There you go.
I'm just not seasoned as you, mate.
I don't know, Barry. You were coming out with some brilliant one-liners at the ground yesterday.
Absolutely. Barry, who was your player of the match yesterday?
My player of the match, crikey. I've always got a lot of love for Martha because she's full of running. But I think actually yesterday it was Tooney for me. Tooney and Russo. I think between the two of them, that they were really good. There was another quote that's been mentioned up earlier on about a shot that came from about 45 yards out, and it was one of those because we were behind the goal. I'm thinking, what are you doing? What are you shooting from there for? That's going to be nowhere near. And before we knew it, it had just been palmed over, and we're like, crikey, that nearly went in. And I believe that was one of those too. So I would definitely go. I think I'd probably just go for Tooney. I think she was in amongst everything that we were trying to do. So I'd give it to Ella.
Tooney's on fire.
Well, she showed some fantastic skill in that second half, right in front of us going into the penalty box. The step over she was doing, I know she ended up passing it to an opponent, but that skill that she used, absolutely fantastic, yeah. I'm going to say Katie Zelem. It's very rare that I get the opportunity to say that because usually one of the goal scorers would kind of like outshine her a little bit, but I think the way Katie played, and I'm probably building that on the last couple of games as well. So I'm going to say Katie on this one. Connor, yourself, player of the match?
I don't actually have one. It's tough. I think it's between Honor's not a bad shout. I don't think anyone was exceptional to the point where you go, they're a standout. I think that's why this is a little bit more difficult. We had a lot of solid performances. And when I say that, I'm talking like 7 out of 10s. I think anyone really reached the kind of 9s and 10s. I'll probably have to go Zelem as well because it's not her position. And I thought she held it pretty well. Winning headers, which, is something she gets criticised a lot of. She was up there, winning her aerial battles, which was good to see. It would be Zelem with a close eye on Jackie, I think, as well, because I thought she held that midfield quite well. Won the ball back a number of times. I'd like to see what her actual ball recoveries were because I felt like she won the ball back very well and kept hold of possession when we needed to at times. So, yeah, I'd go with Zellum, but I think Jackie's not far behind.
Cool. Anthony?
Yeah, pretty much agree with pretty much a lot of what Connor's just said. No one was really stand out, but yeah, I would give it to Zellum for sacrificing a normal position, captain leader, doing centre back duties for the club she loves. I don't think she put her thing wrong at centre back. She looked calm, composed. Still got the assist for the goal. I know high chances if you do get the corners. But then you did, Jackie and Tooney were a couple of that could have on another day, but because of no one really standing out, I'm pretty much like Connor giving it to Zellum because it's not her position and she didn't put her foot wrong. I can't criticise her for anything she did. She did the basics right. So won it in the air. So Zellum for me.
Yeah. And
Can I change my mind? Is it too late to go for? Is it too late to go for Kirsty Hansen?
Oh, Hansen.
Yeah.
She did come on, and I did give you a bit of a nudge before she did come on, saying, "Come on, it's got to be the time for Kirsty now."
She had the best run on.
Yeah. The best one on. I don't know. I think Jane Moore coming on to the more song was probably the best one, to be honest.
We need to find a better song for her, though.
Kirsty Hansen is the only player in yesterday's game with 100% pass accuracy.
See,
one pass attempted, one completed.
Hashtag Hansen in.
Anthony, just before we go, you obviously did a nice gesture yesterday, getting our boss a birthday card where we within that, and obviously managed to see him afterwards, chucking down the rain with a 3.5, 4 hour journey back home, but it was well worth it.
For you.
Yeah, for me. I know. For once, I probably got home later than you, Anthony. So no, I just want to ask you one more question before we wrap up. What do you think Skinner's thinking now? No, that's nice because you're probably looking at us thinking, flipping out, what are these jokers doing, wasting the rain? But no, what do you think he's thinking now?
He'll be thinking from a professional point of view. He'll be thinking what I've pretty much said. They're all cup finals now. Yeah. We just have to take one game at a time. And if we do get to that final game where we are still leading, then he'll think anything can happen, and he'll sit down with them, and like he says in his press conferences, we'll analyse where we could have done better in that. And I think the international, well, it's not even an international break, is it? But the FA Cup breaks come at a good time. They can work on things on the training ground and stuff. So I just think he won't be panicking. He knows it's still just in our hands, but he'll be thinking we've got to concentrate on us, not worrying about City. We can only control what we do. We can't control what City do. We have to control what we do. And Skinner will probably thinking about us. He'll probably thinking, oh, God, do these lunatics ever go home? But
I think I will just add, though, I think just on a different kind of note, on Skinner briefly, I think look at his press conference or his interview after the game, and look, obviously, when us three saw him after yesterday, I think that's the most kind of deflated I think we've seen him. He wasn't his usual kind of, when he came over, like, he still spoke to us, fair play to him for actually coming over, because I don't think I'd want to be chatting away when, you've just conceded a goal. I'd be wanting straight on the bus, I would. But, fair play to him. But I think that's the first time we've really seen him kind of a little bit, and the same with the players, like I said before, I think, so and that's not necessarily a bad thing. If they can use that and go, right, get it all out, on the coach back, forget it now. I said, go. I'd even be, if I was Skinner, I'd be saying, right, let's have a break for a day or so. Go away, go spend time with your family, friends, whatever it is. Just rest and recover for a couple of days and come back. Yes, not there. But yeah, I'm sure they'll look at it, and Skinner's a hard-working guy, and they'll be back in the tactical room this morning. I'm sure, looking at where they could have improved as well.
I do have to say that I think you're right with what you said about Skinner, and 100% he will look at it very pragmatically. He'll take the emotion out of the situation and see what it is that needs to be done, I think. And I think just to try and throw the little shade of positivity that I like to throw into this little area that we seem to be talking about, I just think, just remember what the chat was like when we were having those draws and how unsure some people were. Is Skinner actually the person to replace Stoney? Have we gone and got ourselves a dud here? Oh, how terrible the world is. Oh, the sky's falling in. And actually, look at us now. We're here discussing still the same thing that we were discussing under Casey Stoney. Are we going to make it into that third place? So he's not taking us any further back. You can argue whether he's taken us any further forward, but we're no further back. We're no worse off. We're still in that position where we're just looking to break. And, I think he'll know that. And I think, looking at it pragmatically, he'll look at that as we're not losing anything. We're in a good space. And I think that Skinner will be quietly optimistic, but I am also petrified that if we are in a situation where we are leading in that game for Chelsea and we know we need to just not lose, I could see a Mourinho-esque type thing going on, and I just don't think that is the way forward to go and park the bus against Chelsea necessarily for that. We'd still need to have some positivity. So that would be dangerous, but I think from his point of view, yeah, he's going to be all right.
I would love to see Skinner run down the touchline.
Oh yes, that sort of Mourinho-esque would be good.
Yeah,
little knee slide across the floor.
Yeah,
bringing back the Mike Phelan. Some of that.
It's been a fairly positive show today under the circumstances. I was glad that we didn't do it. Obviously, last night we've had a chance just to calm down a little bit and get a few things out of our system. So thank you to everybody in the comments. There's been quite a few positive comments for Skinner and for our captain, which is great to see as well. So thank you for that. Plan for the rest of the week. So Friday Night Fan Forum, Connor's hosting that one tomorrow with a few people. So that's going to be a good one. Matt and Ben, Saturday Night Live as always.
Might be on that Saturday.
Sorry, say that again, Anthony.
I said I might be on that Saturday. I need to
might you there? Oh yes, you might be actually. Good point.
Yeah, I need to speak to Craney because we did mention it. So you might see my ugly mug. Yeah.
And Sunday, as always, we'll be on the road supporting local teams with Man United not playing. So I'll be at Stourbridge. Connor, if you're free, you'll be there. Barry, will you be at Stevenage this week? I know that you're at quite a few these days.
Absolutely. It's a County Cup final. So we'll be playing, you'll enjoy this, we're playing London Colney. I spent all week thinking it's at London Colney. It's not, it's at the Hearts FA ground. So we're the away team in our own stadium. That's going to be fun. So we've got to go to where we normally play and then go into the away dressing room. That sounds good to me.
Yeah, that's it's just occurred to me what you meant there. So yeah, that's mind-boggling. Okay, we're going to shoot off, guys. Thank you very much, and we shall see.